In the heart of the Wild West, where fortunes were forged in sweat and blood, a tale of courage and secrets unfolded in the dusty town of Silver Creek. Among its rugged inhabitants was a woman named Clara, known for her fortitude and spirit. But it was a hidden treasure buried deep in the hills that pushed her to the edge, placing her life in dire jeopardy. Clara had lived a hard life on the prairie, far removed from the luxuries of civilization. Her hardship was matched only by the relentless sky that beat down on the landscape. She had inherited a modest homestead from her father, a man who believed that the land could provide everything one needed. But Clara's dreams reached beyond the fields. She yearned for adventure and wealth, long buried beneath the rugged terrain surrounding her home. One fateful day, while working the land, Clara stumbled upon an old map that had once belonged to her father. The brittle paper whispered of riches hidden among the hills, gold, claimed to be enough to change her fortune forever. Her heart raced as she carefully studied the markings. The map indicated a secluded canyon, a place where few dared to venture. The possibility of untold riches ignited a fire within her, but as word spread of her discovery, danger lurked in the shadows. Thomas "Gold" Harris, a notorious outlaw and treasure hunter, caught wind of the whispers of treasure. With a reputation that preceded him, Gold Harris was not a man to be trifled with. He established himself as a fearsome figure, amassing a gang of cutthroats willing to do his bidding. More than gold, he craved the thrill of power and control over those who stood in his way. The night Clara resolved to seek the treasure, she donned her father's old duster and strapped on the sword she had learned to wield. With the map in hand, and a determination that rivaled the fiercest storms, she set off under a blanket of stars, her heart pounding fiercely against her ribs. As she ventured deeper into the rugged hills, Clara was aware that she was being watched. Shadows flickered behind the trees, and stealthy whispers echoed in the night air. Her instinct screamed for her to turn back, but to abandon this quest meant relinquishing her dreams. Finally, she arrived at the mouth of the canyon. The earth beneath her feet felt electric, thrumming with untold possibilities. Clara couldn't help but smile at the sight of the wildflowers blooming at the canyon's entrance, a stark contrast to the dark challenges lurking within. As she stepped inside, Clara felt the walls close in, silence wrapping around her like a shroud. She followed the map, her heart racing with anticipation. The path twisted and turned, leading her further away from her home and deeper into potential danger. She could almost hear the whispers of her father guiding her along, pushing her to be brave. But just as hope illuminated her path, an unexpected voice shattered the stillness. "Gold ain't worth her life," a threatening voice echoed through the canyon. Clara spun around to find Gold Harris himself, flanked by his gang. His eyes glinted with greed as he stepped closer, menacing and full of bravado. Clara faced the group, her heart pounding, but she refused to show fear. "I'll not let you intimidate me, Harris," she replied, her voice steady. "I'm here for what's rightfully mine." He laughed, the sound ringing hollow in the canyon. "You think you can claim what's buried here? You have no idea who you're dealing with." But Clara's resolve began to strengthen. "I know more than you think, Gold." In that moment, she remembered the stories her father had told her about what was buried beneath the hills. Not just gold, but the legacy of their family, treasures lost due to greed and betrayal. Her words seemed to catch Gold off guard, a flicker of respect crossing his face. "What do you think is buried here?" With her heart racing, Clara took a breath, gathering courage. "It's not just your greed that drives you. There's a story here, one that's worth more than gold." She let her gaze sweep over the gang, who now seemed less threatening. Gold hesitated, the bravado slipping from his demeanor. And what story might that be? Quietly, Clara revealed the truth her father had instilled in her. It's about honor. It's about the people who were driven from this land, leaving behind their stories, their dreams buried in these hills. For a moment, Clara saw a flicker of emotion in Gold's eyes. The weight of his choices pressed down upon him, and she knew this was her chance. "You can change too, Gold. We can do something greater than fight over worthless gold. We can uncover history and honor those who came before us." The silence stretched, filled with the possibilities Clara had ignited. The canyon, once echoing with threats, now held a different tension, one of hope. Clara felt she had gained ground, not just for herself, but for everyone who had suffered for greed. "Maybe there's more buried here than gold after all," Gold finally said, his voice softer, almost contemplative. Together, they stood at a crossroads, a choice laid bare before them. Clara could feel the energy shift. "Will you help me uncover it?" she asked, her heart racing, hoping he would see the value in redemption. The question hung between them. Gold Harris, known for his lawlessness, faced a moment of truth, a chance to redefine himself. Would he walk the path of change, or would he remain a prisoner to his greed? As they stood there, the fate of the buried treasures and the legacy they represented wove itself into a new story, one where courage and hope could shine brighter than any gold. And so the hills remained silent, holding secrets beneath their rugged surface. But Clara knew that whether they unearthed gold or the heart of the land's true history, the choice lay ahead, a choice that could reshape not just her life, but the destiny of Silver Creek itself. As the silence deepened, Clara could feel her heart pounding in her chest, a symphony of hope and anxiety playing within her. She studied Gold Harris, searching for any sign of the man he could become rather than the villain he had been. His rugged features softened momentarily, and Clara knew this was a rare opportunity to guide him away from the dark path he had chosen. "Let's put aside the fighting," Clara urged, her voice steady but firm. "We can work together to uncover the truth of this land, its stories, its legacy. What do you say?" Gold shifted on his feet, glancing at his gang of rough men. They murmured amongst themselves, unsure of the unexpected turn the evening had taken. Clara seized the moment, addressing them as well, her voice rising above the whispers. "Every treasure, every bit of gold carries a history. It's not just about what lies in these hills. It's about what we honor, what we remember. If we choose to dig up gold, we dig up the very greed that has torn our lives apart." Her words hung in the air, and for a fleeting moment, Clara could see doubt etched on the men's faces. Could they really set aside their lust for gold? Could they bear witness to a different kind of treasure? Gold let out a low growl of frustration, crossing his arms as if to shield himself from the truth stirring around him. "You think I'm just going to give this up? This isn't about how you feel, it's about survival. My men and I aren't willing to walk away from what could change our fates." "But it could," Clara insisted, her gaze unwavering. "Do you fight for dirt and gold when you have the chance to fight for something greater, for respect, for a chance at a better life? Your men follow you for the promise of riches, but what kind of lives do we live when we chase only greed?" Gold hesitated, his tough exterior cracking slightly at her words. Meanwhile, the gang members exchanged glances, sensing uncertainty within their leader. Clara stepped closer, her resolve burning bright. "Imagine a future where we harness what's buried in these hills, the knowledge, the stories. We can build something lasting and meaningful, not just for ourselves, but for the generations to come." The tension began to shift, mistrust waning as her words sank in. The men were growing curious. Gold raised an eyebrow, intrigued yet skeptical. "What's your plan, Clara?" She smiled, the slightest of expressions breaking through her anxiety. "Let's explore the canyon together. If there's treasure, I'll share it with you. But let's also dig for the history my father knew, what compelled him to bury it here in the first place." After a heavy silence, Gold looked at his gang, who appeared more fascinated than hostile. "Fine, Clara. We'll explore," he said, though his tone remained cautious. "But if you're pulling a trick, understand that the consequence won't just fall on you. We'll find out what's hidden here, and if there's nothing, we will revert to our previous plan." "Deal," Clara affirmed, feeling a surge of relief course through her. As they ventured deeper into the canyon, shadows danced around them, enchanting yet foreboding. Clara led the way, her heart racing with trepidation and excitement. The landscape held secrets that tantalized her thoughts, and she could feel her father's spirit guiding her, urging her to keep moving forward. The canyon walls towered above them, marking the passage of time that had long forgotten the weeping of its ancestors. Clara stopped to glance at the ethereal glow of moonlight filtering through the canyon, illuminating the ancient markings etched into the stone. "Look there," she pointed out. "These inscriptions. My father talked about legends told by the tribes that roamed these lands. They believed the mountains were alive and that their spirits guarded the treasures hidden here. Every mark has a story." Gold paused, leaning closer to inspect the carvings. Some of the gang members followed suit, their expressions shifting from skepticism to awe. "I'd never thought to see something like this," one of them murmured, shaking his head. "Exactly," Clara exclaimed, feeling encouraged. "This is part of a forgotten heritage. If we listen, we might uncover something deeper than gold, a connection to something much larger than ourselves." They continued further into the passage, where the air turned cool and crisp, amplifying Clara's sense of purpose. The deeper they traveled, the more the echoes of the past seemed to beckon her. She could almost visualize the ancestral spirits dancing in joy at the remembrance of their stories. Suddenly they came upon a clearing. In the center lay an old stone altar, overgrown with vines and thyme, yet it emanated an undeniable aura of sanctity. Clara approached the altar, her pulse quickening. "This isn't just a site, it's a shrine," she spoke softly, reverently tracing her fingers over the weathered stones. "This is where ceremonies were held, where families gathered to honor their ancestors. This is where the true treasure lies." Gold stood behind her, his earlier bravado faltering as he studied the site with newfound respect. "You're serious about this, aren't you?" he said, awe in his voice. "This is bigger than I thought." "It always has been," Clara replied, conviction resonating through her words. "We must protect this place, not exploit it. By doing so, we not only preserve the past, but also redefine our futures." As the gang looked on, contemplative expressions cast across their rugged faces, Clara saw a shift, a glimmer of hope igniting where desperation had once reigned. The canyon began to hold its breath, revealing to them the richness of life, justice, and history. But just as they began to find common ground, a clatter of hooves echoed from behind them. Clara turned around, a chill creeping down her spine. A rival gang of outlaws emerged from the shadows, their faces twisted with malice, eyes glinting with greed. "Well, well," the leader sneered, swaggering forward. "Looks like you're all playing at something deeper here. How cute. Hand over what you've found, or prepare to face the consequences." Gold stepped forward, positioning himself in front of Clara. "You want what's on this altar? You'll have to go through me first." Clara felt her heart race. This was the test. Would Gold Harris and his men choose to protect something of value, or succumb to the chaos they had chased for too long? "We're defending our claim," Clara shouted, her heart daring to hope. "Not just for ourselves, but for every story buried in these hills." Tension crackled in the air as both sides faced off, waiting to see who would make the first move. Within that charged atmosphere, Clara realized that everything depended on one crucial truth. They could not fight for gold, but for the dignity and legacy of those who had come before them. With courage swelling within her, Clara took a step forward, ready to stand for the future of Silver Creek and the stories forever imprinted in the rocks surrounding them. It was a moment of reckoning where the real treasure was yet to be unearthed, a treasure of unity, courage, and the unwavering strength of hope. As the tension escalated, the air thick with the scent of danger, Clara felt her heart pounding in her chest like a drum. The rival gang, prominent and fierce, had surrounded them, and their leader, a scruffy man named Jeb, sneered at Gold and his crew, clearly relishing the impending clash. "What's it going to be, boys?" Jeb taunted, glancing between Clara and Gold. "You really think you can defend some rocks and stories against us? We came for treasure, and we won't leave empty-handed." Clara squared her shoulders, her determination ignited. "This isn't just about rocks or trivial treasure, Jeb. It's about preserving something far greater than ourselves, a legacy. You can't plunder what you don't understand." Jeb laughed, a harsh, mocking sound that echoed through the canyon. "Understand? What, you think we care about legacies and old stories? There's gold to be had, lady, and we're here to take it one way or another." Gold stepped forward, his brow furrowing as he assessed the situation. The gang behind him was restless, their hands itching for their weapons. "This is a sacred site," he said, his voice low but steady. "You want to take from it, you'll have to get through me first. We won't let you disrespect the past." "Big talk, Gold," Jeb spat, drawing his revolver with a swift, practiced motion. "But words won't save you from the fate you're about to meet." Clara felt a cold grip of fear, but she couldn't let it paralyze her. In that moment, instincts surged. "We don't have to do this. None of us need more bloodshed," she called out, her voice echoing in the canyon, desperate but firm. The words hovered, waiting for a response. Silence enveloped the scene for a brief moment, only the sound of wind whispering through the canyon breaking the tension. Clara could see Jeb hesitate, the flicker of uncertainty crossing his hardened features. "Why should we listen to you?" he asked, lowering his gun slightly. "You're just a woman playing at something you can't even understand." Clara felt the weight of every woman before her, their strength and resilience flooding her with courage. "It may be true that I'm just one woman, but I carry the stories of those who came before. What's at stake here is the chance to redeem ourselves, to rewrite our futures." The members of the rival gang exchanged glances. Jeb's grip wavered, but Clara knew this was a fleeting moment of doubt. She pressed on. "We can unite against the true enemy, the greed that enslaves us all. Let's work together. The land can provide for us all." Gold watched the scene unfold, an undercurrent of respect forming between Clara and his former rival. He took a step closer, his eyes never leaving Jeb's. "Instead of fighting for scraps, let's find something of value together. There's more potential in this canyon than any of us have imagined." "Enough!" Jeb shouted, his patience fraying. "This is our chance. We're not leaving empty-handed, lady. It's now or never." Without warning, he raised his weapon again, and the tension shattered like glass. Clara instinctively moved closer to Gold, her heart racing. "Wait!" she pleaded, her voice cutting through the chaos. "What good is gold if you destroy each other in the process?" In an instant, shots rang out, echoing against the canyon walls. Clara ducked, adrenaline surging through her veins. Gold instinctively shielded her with his body, returning fire while his gang surged into action. Chaos erupted, and the canyon transformed into a battleground. Clara's mind raced. Amid the cacophony of gunfire and shouts, she spotted an opportunity. She could see a narrow path leading around the altar, one that might give them the advantage. "This way," she shouted to Gold, pulling him toward the path. As they ducked behind the altar, Clara breathed heavily, the weight of their situation pressing down on her. "We can use the terrain to our advantage," she urged, glancing back at the chaos. "We have to outsmart them, not just outfight them." Gold nodded, strategizing quickly. "We can cut through the narrow passage and flank them. If we work together, we can ambush them when they least expect it." Clara's heart raced as they moved stealthily through the shadows, adrenaline electrifying her every nerve. They maneuvered through the canyon, weaving closer to where Jeb and his gang were locked in a fierce firefight. As they advanced, Clara couldn't shake the weight of the altar. The stories it held pressed against her heart, urging her to fight not just for survival, but for something far more significant. As they rounded a corner, Clara gestured for Gold to halt. "There's a boulder we can use for cover," she whispered, eyes sparkling with determination. "If we can get there, we can launch a surprise attack." Gold grinned, the tension between them shifting as they readied themselves. "You've got guts, Clara. Let's do this." With a silent count, they sprinted toward the boulder, adrenaline fueling their every step. Bullets whizzed past, but Clara remained focused, her heart pounding in sync with their resolve. They reached the boulder, its sturdy mass offering sanctuary amid chaos. From their new vantage point, they could see Jeb and his gang struggling against Gold's crew. Clara's heart swelled with hope. They had a chance. "On my mark," she whispered, gripping a rock tightly in her hand. Gold nodded, his eyes narrowing as they assessed the feud unfolding before them. Clara could sense the moment approaching, the perfect opportunity to reclaim the advantage. "Now!" she shouted, hurling the rock onto the canyon floor. The sudden noise startled Jeb's men, and Gold's gang took the chance to counterattack. It was a flurry of movement as chaos erupted, shouts mingling with the sound of the canyon echoing with vengeance. Clara and Gold charged forward, blending with their men, a force of unity against greed. As they clashed, Clara felt an intensity sweep over her, fear transformed into anger, directed at the chaos that had beset their lives for too long. Dodging the scuffles, she fought with purpose, using every ounce of training her father had given her, striking with precision and resolve. In the heat of the battle, Clara locked eyes with Gold. "We must protect this altar. It's the heart of this land. We can't let them destroy it." Together they pressed forward, their combined efforts forcing Jeb and his gang into a retreat. With every blow, Clara felt the spirit of her ancestors backing her, a surge of strength coursing through her veins. As the fight continued, Clara began to see Jeb faltering. His bravado was slipping, and she sensed a shift. "You don't have to follow this path," she shouted at him amid the chaos. "You can choose a better way." Jeb hesitated, the weight of her words sinking in. The sound of conflict faded momentarily, and Clara saw his resolve wane, the fire of greed flickering in his eyes. The canyon held its breath, waiting for the final thrust. Clara rallied her courage, and with one final push she leapt forward, aiming to disarm Jeb. "This isn't the end, Jeb. Join us instead of fighting for empty promises." In that moment, the realization washed over him, and Clara could see the hesitation shift into something more profound, a chance to change, to choose honor over chaos. In the heart of Silver Creek, beneath the mountains that whispered forgotten tales, the battle fought over greed began to pave the way for something far more significant, a legacy entwined with redemption and courage, one that would echo through generations to come. As Clara surged forward toward Jeb, she could see the conflict brewing in his eyes, a tempest of desperation battling against the faint glimmer of redemption. Their faces were mere inches apart, and in that charged moment, the chaos around them began to fade away. Time stretched, as if the universe was holding its breath, waiting to see how this moment would unfold. "Join us, Jeb," Clara implored, her voice steady despite the turmoil swirling around them. "You don't have to let this greed control your life. We can change the narrative, together." For a heartbeat, it seemed as if Clara's words pierced through the fog of Jeb's anger. The fight in his eyes wavered, flickering like a dying flame. Behind him, his gang was still engaged in a fierce struggle against Gold's men, but Clara could only focus on the man before her. Just as she thought she had reached him, Jeb let out a roar of frustration, his instincts kicking back in. "You think I'll simply lay down my guns because of some pretty words? This is who I am, Clara." He lunged forward, a desperate swing aimed at her midsection. Clara ducked under his arm, adrenaline coursing through her veins. "No, this isn't who you have to be," she yelled, sidestepping him and making her way back toward Gold, who was still battling fiercely against Jeb's gang. Gold caught sight of Clara as she dodged and weaved through the chaos. "You all right?" he shouted, throwing a punch at one of Jeb's men. "Just fine. But we need to turn this fight around," Clara responded, pointing toward Jeb. "He's losing control. We can reach him." As if on cue, Jeb stumbled, his gang faltering under the pressure of Gold's determined crew. One of his men grabbed at Jeb's shoulder, trying to pull him back amidst the clash. "We can't keep this up," the man shouted. "We need to regroup, Jeb." Clara seized the moment, pushing forward once more, determined to draw Jeb's attention away from the fight. "For you have a chance to lead differently. Think of what you could build instead of what you destroy." Her words rang clear, buoyed by the cacophony of chaos. Clara's voice became a beacon in the storm. Jeb's eyes widened slightly as he glanced back at his men, uncertainty etched across his features. Behind her, Gold rallied his crew, pushing harder against Jeb's gang. The tide of battle shifted, and Clara felt it in her bones. This was their moment to turn the conflict into a new chapter. "Make the choice, Jeb," Clara shouted, desperation creeping into her voice. "Choose hope instead of hatred. Help us secure something meaningful." Suddenly, Jeb hesitated. His revolver lowered slightly, and Clara took a step closer. This was the crux of the moment, where anger could yield to understanding. "You know deep down that this isn't what you want. You're caught in a cycle of violence." Jeb's breath quickened, and his shoulders slumped ever so slightly as the realization hit him. The fight around him continued, but they were no longer the center of his world. Clara saw the internal struggle flickering across his face. He was at a crossroads. I don't know how," he muttered, voice strained. "I've spent my life fighting. It's all I know." "Then show them how to fight for a better future," Clara urged, her heart racing with possibility. "Not just for gold or greed, but for something bigger than ourselves. Together, we can be something different, something good." With a final, forceful push, the battle around them reached a boiling point. Gold and his men pressed forward fiercely, and Clara could feel the energy in the air shift once more, tension palpable. It was in this precarious moment that Jeb finally seemed to gather his resolve. "Stop fighting!" Jeb bellowed, raising his hands to call for a ceasefire. "Everyone, stop!" The chaos paused as both gangs froze, confusion washing over them. Clara stood with bated breath, heart racing. Gold looked at Jeb, his expression a mix of skepticism and hope. Jeb stepped forward, his gaze unflinching as he made eye contact with Gold. "This isn't worth it," he said, his voice low and steady. "We don't have to sacrifice each other for scraps. This land has more to offer than just gold." Clara's heart swelled with relief. Yes, together, we can preserve what matters: our lives, our stories, our legacies. The silence that followed felt almost surreal. Gold and Jeb stood face to face, two men from vastly different backgrounds, standing at the precipice of something transformative. After a long moment, Gold nodded slowly, his features softening as he understood the weight of Jeb's conclusion. "Then let's create a different path for all of us. We can make this canyon a place of unity, not conflict." Jeb swallowed hard, the weight of his decisions evident, but Clara felt the tension dissipate as men began to lower their weapons, bewildered yet cautious. "Let's do it," Jeb finally said, casting a glance back at his gang, who still looked confused but also hesitant to fight a battle that no longer had purpose. "Let's build something that our children can be proud of." In that moment, Clara felt a wave of triumph rush over her. It was a victory not fueled by greed, but by a collective desire for something better, a chance to build a new narrative upon the ashes of old conflicts. "What we do here matters," Clara said, voice trembling slightly with emotion. "We have the opportunity to change everything." As Clara, Gold, and Jeb stood together, the sun began to set beyond the canyon, bathing them in a warm, golden glow. In that light, they felt lifted, bound by hope, ready to dig not for gold but for the fabric of stories that would tie them together. The canyon, with its ancient stones and whispered legacies, had witnessed a transformation. Here, in this place of contention, a spirit of cooperation emerged, igniting dreams of unity and the richness of shared histories. Clara smiled, her heart full of hope, knowing they had unearthed the greatest treasure of all, the strength to forge their destinies hand in hand. The hills would no longer echo with the sounds of conflict, but instead would resonate with the laughter of families and the spirit of a new beginning. Together they had rewritten their story, and it was just the beginning.